I believe, above all, that a man should be true to himself. I believe a man should be prepared at all times to sacrifice everything from his convictions. Twice during my life, I have been called upon to make this kind of sacrifice. After Pearl Harbor, the Philippines was invaded by Japan. I had never been a soldier. I was a journalist, but something impelled me to enlist. I was attached to General MacArthur's staff and went with him first to Bataan and later to Corregidor. In Corregidor, I was placed in charge of the broadcast called The Voice of Freedom. The Japanese reacted violently to the broadcast. I learned that a price had been put on my head, and worse, that they had gone after my wife and 4 sons who had left behind in the occupied territory. I suffered indescribable torment, worrying about my loved ones. I wanted to go back to Manila at whatever cost, but I was ordered to proceed to Australia on the eve of fall of Bataan. The second time I was called upon to make a considerable sacrifice from my convictions was during the 1953 national elections in the Philippines. I had never been a politician, but having become convinced that I should do everything I could to help effect a change of the government in my country. I resigned as ambassador to the United States and a permanent representative to the United Nations in order to enter the field against the incumbent president. I founded a third party and accepted the nomination for president, started a vigorous campaign to awaken the Filipino people to the need for a change in administration. Midway in my campaign, it became apparent that the 2 opposition parties might lose the election if they remained divided, but had an excellent chance to win if they would presented a united front. I made a painful decision to withdraw my candidacy. I was the campaign manager of Mr. Ramon Magsaysay and campaigned up and down for him. I could not have worked harder if I had been the candidate myself. Magsaysay won by a landslide. The temptation was strong for all those who had worked for him to share in the rewards of victory. I was convinced, however, that the first duty of everything who had helped to bring about a change of government was to give the new president a completely free hand in making appointments for the key positions in the administration. Immediately after the elections, I left for the United States. As I look back, I see this pattern of action and renunciation repeated over and over again in my life, in things great and small, in war and in peace. Some may call this a credo of self-sacrifice, but I prefer this to describe as being true to oneself, no matter what the cost.